Welcome to Distracted, the podcast with Angela Lockwood, the place where you will find practical brain-boosting strategies, expert insights, and real-life stories to help busy brains thrive in the age of distraction. Let's go. Welcome to Distracted. I'm Angela Lockwood. Thanks so much for joining me today. There's a bit of irony leading into today's topic. I just went to hit record on this not too long ago, and I was chatting away and felt a little distracted. The opening that I was saying sounded very sort of disjointed, didn't feel like I was really here. And then I saw on my phone, a phone call came through from a good mate of mine who I wanted to talk to. So I pressed pause on the recording, went to the phone, answered that. And what I love about it is today I want to talk to you about the importance of being present. And so you can feel the irony of this, that even as I go to speak to you about presence and how we can be more present in our relationships, in our work, and why we get so easily distracted and find it so difficult to be present, I actually got distracted. And this is the thing nowadays, that we have so many things vying for our attention and everything seems important. But sometimes when everything seems important, nothing is important. But for me, being really clear, I want to make sure that I'm delivering content that really makes a difference for you, that really challenges your thinking, that brings your awareness to your own behaviors. But as equally as important is my relationships. And so my friend who called, I really wanted to answer that call because that was an important thing for me as well. And so here I was finding myself in a situation where two things were as equally as important. Now, I know should have had my phone away from me. I know that I should have had it, not near me so I wasn't being distracted, that I could be fully present in recording this episode for you. But it was just interesting that for some reason I had the phone right near me and saw that call come through. And this is, I guess, the thing for today that we're talking about is about how do we become present on the things that really matter to us. Because there are so many things that do vie for our attention, we do have lots of things that are, I guess, constantly popping up for us. And unless we know what truly is important to us in that moment, it's really easy to become distracted by things that pop up, because it's like things are always going, hi, I'm here too, what about me? And we find it so hard to fight against those constant distractors, those constant things that pop up. Now, slightly shifting off tangent, I am here fully and 100% completely present with you now. And how have I done that? Well, I've turned my phone off, I've moved it away from me, and so now I can't get distracted by any notifications that pop up, including notifications on my computer. I've closed the door. There's nothing that can distract me right now from being fully present with you. But what we do too many times is we do have these systems, or we do put things in place around us that is almost like inviting distraction in. And an example of that is recording a podcast episode, but having a phone where you can see the notifications and the calls and the text messages popping up. It might be on your smartwatch. Now, if you listen to my previous episode earlier on Distracted, I talked about my recent experiment with wearing a smartwatch. So that might be a distractor for you. Another distractor for you might be if you're working from home and you have small kids that are coming into the office or coming into where you are. It might be that you do just work from home without kids, but the distractions are the washing the washing basket you can see. It might be visitors coming to the door. It could be a whole range of things if you're working from home. But other distractors for you, if you're in a workplace, might be other people just wanting that classic 5 minutes of your time, which ends up being half an hour to an hour. Other distractors could be just listening to other people's conversations in the cubicle next to you. It might be, meetings that just pop up into your calendar. It might be, lots of emails that are coming through. But if you're also working outside, there's lots of distractors too that can interrupt your flow of your work. And when we find these distractors, what often happens too much is that we try to fight against them. We try to be present in the moment, but we still invite all these distractions in. So I want to give you an example of just recording this podcast, for an example. So already I've experienced what distraction feels like, where I was like, right, I'm here, I'm going to record this podcast. And then I have my phone next to me, inviting distraction in. And I literally had to switch off the podcast, switch gears to answer that call. Now, being fully present, what it means is being here in the moment and minimizing the amount of things that can distract us while we're working on that. And another example for this might be if you're working, say, on a proposal or you're working on a document that you really need complete focus on. And what we're doing is what we want to do is try to minimize and shut down all of those things that are around us so that we can be fully present in the moment. Now, a couple of things that I guess behaviors and things that we can do to help us be more present and shift from one thing to that deep work activity or to that moment of focus, or it might even be a really important conversation that you're having with somebody. It might be a challenging conversation, or it might just be a conversation where you need to listen and be fully present. I want to share with you a couple of things you can do just prior to that to get your mind ready, to get your mind and your body fully in that moment. So it can be on a computer, it can be in person, or it might just be that what you're wanting to do at that time is not be doing 5, 10 things at once. It might be, I just want to do one thing right now. Because what we know, there's so much research around multitasking. Our brain does not have the capacity to do more than one thing at one time equally well. So we can do two things, but what we're doing is we're switching from that. There's just constant switching between one activity to the next, and there's a task switching cost that happens to our attention when we do that. So, what are some of those things that we can do to help us be fully present? And a couple of things I want to share with you as strategies that I personally use, but also that I use with my coaching clients as well, that I know has worked for other people. So, one of these, of course, is the power of our breath. Now, you see this time and time again with elite athletes. We've just come off the back of a whole lot of end of season football here in Australia, where there's been lots of finals. And I found it really interesting in those big moments where there was a kick that needed to be converted for them to win. So it's really a lot of pressure that's put on that individual. And it's come right down to the final minutes, or there was a high pressure point in the game where there was a kick needed. And if they converted, then obviously they get more points. And every single time, every single kick that I saw, what people did just before they did the kick, you could see them take a really big, deep breath. Now, it sounds so simple, doesn't it? How in the world can a breath switch you from feeling distracted to being focused? But what I noticed that they did is that they would stop their bodies, they would center themselves, and they would take a big, deep breath. They would look at the ball, they would look to where they were kicking, back down again, and then flow through, and they would kick to convert. Now, not always did the ball go through the uprights, or did the ball go through where it needed to go. Sometimes it went totally the wrong way. Sometimes it was kicked in the total wrong direction and it didn't go through. So not every outcome was successful. But what I noticed each of these elite athletes were doing, using the power of their breath to quieten the noise of the crowd. When I was looking at the AFL game here in Australia, there was over 100,000 people in that crowd watching. The intense pressure on that athlete to kick that ball was huge. Now, could you imagine that noise, how deafening that noise would have been? Could you imagine the pressure of even just having everybody's eyes on you? It'd be so intense. Now, to be lost in that moment, um, you can't fully pay your attention to the skill of kicking if you are, if the athlete is focused on all of those, people yelling or the noise or the intensity of that pressure. Your brain just does not have the ability to do that. So taking that big, deep breath in just before they kicked What it did is it helped quieten the mind. It helped minimize all of those distractors. And time again, what happened was as they kicked, I can guarantee you in their mind, and I've spoken to athletes before about this, it's like everything becomes still. Everything quietens and they can just get in the flow of what they know. Now it's really important that we talk about this because it's not just like they turn up, they breathe once, they kick and it's all yay, everyone's cheering. What these athletes do is they practice this time and time and time again. So at every training, they're practicing. They might even have a training session dedicated to just practicing the kick. And in each of those moments, what they're doing is they're using their breath as a tool to help them focus. That big deep breath, it's like a signal for them to say it is now time to be focused and to be fully present on what you're doing. So next time you're watching any type of sport, even tennis players do it just before they serve. I see basketballers do it just before they hit a free throw. They use their breath to quieten the noise, to center their body, and then they go to execute. And how you can use this is as equally as important in your work as what it is in if you're an athlete. So just say you're going into a meeting that you have to chair and you need to be present in that meeting. You need to be able to be focused on what the conversation's about. You need to maybe deliver a message that's really important. If you walk into that meeting and you are thinking about things that just happened beforehand, or you are thinking about what might come after, or you're thinking about how everyone's going to take it, take your messaging, or is everyone going to be happy? If you're thinking about all of these things as you're walking into that meeting, you will drag the energy and you will drag the franticness of what often comes with all of those different thoughts. If you step into that room and you take that big deep breath in, just like the athletes do before they kick, what happens is it triggers your body to go, it is time right now to be calm. It's time to be focused. And you might even have a mantra or you might have a line that you tell yourself. It might be, right now, we're here in the room, or right now, it's time for this meeting. And what that does is it gives your brain a trigger to go, right now, this is where I need to be. This is where my body is. This is where my mind is. I often talk about this too for parents who are saying to me that they get really sort of frustrated when they're doing household tasks. Now, I know this feels like a little bit of a shift, but stick with me here. That they're feeling like when they're cleaning the house, they get really almost angry sometimes and a little bit resentful that they are the ones that having to clean. They feel like it's a big waste of time, or that, why is this me that has to do this? Everyone just makes a mess. No one's pitching in to help. And what I often say to people is, what if in that moment you just said, my job right now, or what I am doing right now is vacuuming. What I'm doing right now is vacuuming. Now, that sounds really simplistic and it's like, great, well, what does that do? What it does is it stops or at least minimizes all of the other thoughts that's happening in your mind about where else you should be, what else you could be doing, why is it mine? And what it does is it tells the brain, okay, I get that, but right now I need to be vacuuming. That's what I'm doing. And you can almost feel it, and I can feel my hands even when I'm speaking, when I'm sharing this with you. It takes all of the expansion, all of the ideas that is flowing into your mind, all your thoughts, all the rumination. And what it does is it brings it into one central point of focus. And that in itself, when we have one central point of focus, immediately calms our thinking and it calms our nervous system. And what it does, it allows us to be fully present doing what we're doing well. Now, it doesn't mean that automatically you just love vacuuming and it's just this wonderful, sunshine and rainbows when you're vacuuming. but what it does is it just tells your body, I need to be present here right now because this is where I find myself. This is what I'm doing, whether I like it or not. And this might be if you're even in a work situation that you don't love, but it's serving a purpose for you right now. If you're finding yourself getting really negative and typing away at these emails and you're thinking, why am I here? I should be out doing other things. I wish I was doing this. I wish I was doing that. If you just say, right now, I need to respond to these emails. You can even hear it in my voice that it becomes something that's less about being frantic and overwhelming. What it does, it brings down into like the central point of calm. It tells your mind and it tells your body, hey, don't worry about all that stuff right now, because what we're doing together right now is we are working on this one thing. Get that done, get it done really well, stay calm amongst it. And then when you shift out of doing that task, your thinking will be calmer to then move on to the next thing. But unfortunately, what I see way too often, particularly with my coaching clients, is they come to me, very successful people that are trying to do 20 things at once and feel like they're never doing anything particularly well because they feel scattered. They feel like all the different tasks that they're doing are not getting enough of their attention, or they're just skimming over and they're making mistakes, or they're skimming over things and missing detail. It's because we're trying to sort of fragment our attention, and we're trying to do this scattergun approach of doing lots of different things at the same time and not being fully present doing something, doing one thing at a time. Now, I've talked about a couple of scenarios here. So it's through sport, it's through work, going into a meeting, it's through doing things like returning your emails. It might even be at home doing things like vacuuming. But a really important part of our lives are our relationships as well. So if you're a parent with a child, as an example, being fully present with your kids is one of the most important functions of a parent, because kids know when you're not present with them. They know when you're distracted. They know when you're not fully listening to them. And in fact, what happens, particularly as they get older, um, if you are always distracted while they're talking to you, then they quickly catch on to thinking, well, what's the point? Mum or dad aren't really listening to me, so there's no point in going to them anyway. And we don't want that to happen. Now, it mightn't be with your kids, it might also be with your partner, or it might be with a friend, a parent, where you're finding that your brain is so busy, it's constantly thinking about so many things. When somebody is talking to you or you're in a conversation, that you're not fully present with that person, that you are thinking about all those other things. So you're missing the detail of the conversation. You're missing even sometimes the questions that they might be asking you or the feedback that they're seeking from you. And even sometimes I do in a lot of my workshops activities where I get people to challenge themselves to listen to detail of somebody's, their partner's conversation, and they have to feed that back to them. And what I find a lot of people do is their feedback is, I was concentrating so hard on trying to concentrate that I didn't even listen to what they were saying. And so it's not necessarily even about stopping the noise from happening so that you can hear. Sometimes it's the noise that's within our own head, that we're trying so hard to concentrate and focus. We're almost doing the focus grind, that becomes the noise rather than actually listening to the person. So being present, whether it be in our relationships with our kids, with our parents, even with our workmates, if we are feeling constantly distracted by our thinking, by our thoughts, either internally or the things that are happening outside of us, it is a real skill to be present in those conversations. And I really want to just highlight that point, that being present is a skill. It is something that you need to practice, and you're not always going to get it right. So I've talked about the power of your breath. Okay, so big breath, triggering your body to say it is now time to step into this point. I've also talked about self talk, about going, right now, my role is to do this, or right now, I am responding to emails, right now, I am vacuuming, right now, I'm in this conversation. Now, I don't want to freak a lot of you out, but I reckon if you're here undistracted, you've heard this before, that meditation is a really important tool if you are finding yourself not being present in the things that really matter to you. Now, don't sort of freak out thinking meditation is this big, overwhelming thing that is unattainable, because I hear that way too often. People will say, and I just can't meditate. I've tried before, but my brain just doesn't stop. It's just pointless. But meditation, again, is a skill. And it's not something that you'll ever be perfect in. So perfectionism cannot even come into your thinking when we're talking about meditation. Meditation can be something as simple as 30 seconds. It can be about taking a big deep breath in and just sitting with your thoughts for a very short period of time. It could be finding yourself somewhere quiet where you can just stop the noise. Okay, just being aware of your breath or being aware of, it might be you might have your own mantra or your own affirmation that you say or a sound that you say. And there's plenty of strategies. I share in Switch Off, my book, Switch Off How to Find Calm in a Noisy World. But there are so many resources out there for you if meditation is something that you really would love to try, but you're not sure where to start. And what I find a lot of clients who do have difficulty with learning meditation and implementing meditation is even using meditation scripts or meditation audios. So you could be on Spotify. There are so many different, I guess, sounds and scripts that you can sit and listen to that'll help you calm, that'll help you get into that meditative state. Now, yep, 20 minutes, half an hour, that is a goal. If you are just starting out with meditation, just start small and regular. And what you'll start to find is just your brain will have that pressing pause moment that I often talk about. It'll give you that opportunity to just slow down, slow your thinking, slow your breathing, slow your nervous system. And then what happens is you will find that when you do step into those meetings, when you step into a challenging conversation, or when you find yourself needing complete focus and attention, that meditative state will allow that it'll sort of stretch out. It'll be like this slow, positive release of energy that allows you to be fully present and focused in those moments. So, thinking about how can I be more present doing the things that I want to do. And being present is just being fully here right now in this moment. And I asked at the beginning of this episode, how are you finding yourself? Are you driving in your car? Like I often wonder about this. Are you driving in your car when you're listening to this? Are you walking, out in nature with your headphones in? Are you maybe cleaning the house and have this on in the background? Wherever you find yourself listening to this, sometimes what we do is we listen while we're doing something else, and that's okay because at least you're listening and you're getting the information in. But for the things that you really want to focus on, for the things that really matter to you, that you either really want to learn from, or that you find yourself being fragmented in, is probably a word. I love the word fragmented because it shows like you're in pieces. There's little bits of pieces of things. If you want all of that to come together into one sort of calm space, then my challenge for you is to practice being present, to practice slowing things down in the moment. And it might be next time your child's talking to you about their day, and you might be on a phone call and they come home, and it might be they start talking to you or not. But if you put that in that phone call, go and see them and say, hey, how was your day today? And you are fully present with them and you're listening to what they're saying and you're asking questions about their day, those moments are what brings connection. Those moments are really what brings a joy to you and to the person that's listening, particularly your child. But also in those moments where you are fully present, the other person really feels it. They know that you are with them. When you're talking to somebody, I can think of a few people in my life who are exactly like this, that when you are sharing something with them, they're fully with you. And when somebody is fully with you and fully present with you, you will share more. You will open up more. The conversation is so much richer, and you know that those conversations, when somebody is present with you, how that makes you feel. So being present isn't just about focusing on a task and doing deep work. It's really important that that's the case, but also being present in our relationships will give you so much joy. It'll help make things richer in your life as well, rather than feeling like we're being pulled in a million and one directions. So next time you find yourself in any of the situations I've talked about throughout this episode, I want you to hear me sitting on your shoulder and just going, are you fully present right now? And if you're not, you know some of the things that you can do. You can do a big deep breath. You can say to yourself, be present here right now. What I'm doing right now is listening to my partner. Yeah, obviously don't say that out loud because that'll be really creepy. They'll go, "What are you talking about?" You know, just say it in your head that right now I'm listening to my partner, and then be fully present. And what I love when people do this is they find that the noise slows. They find that the noise quietens around them, and the franticness around them in their thinking, in their environment. It's almost like a matrix moment where everything slows and you are just there doing that one thing. Now, to sustain this takes energy and effort, but what I would love for you to do is try it on one thing. Okay. It is a skill that needs to be practiced, just like those athletes when they go to breathe just before they kick. It is a skill that needs to be practiced. So practice it. If you don't get it right the first time, it doesn't matter. Find one area of your life where you feel fragmented, where you feel really distracted, and an area of your life where you wish you could be more present. I hope you enjoyed this episode today. If there is anything that really resonated with you, please let me know. Message me over at support@angelalockwood.com.au. And any more strategies that you are looking for, we've got a whole range of episodes here on Distracted. And have a scroll through. Share this with somebody who you feel might be finding it difficult to be present in their own life at the moment, or you just go, hey, this is a really great episode that I got a lot out of, you might too. Just share it away and head on over to any of the platforms and please review the podcast. It lets people know what value you're getting and maybe what value they can get from listening to Distracted as well. Thanks so much for your time, everyone, and for being present in listening to this. I wish you the very best, and I hope you have a wonderful day. I'm Angela Lockwood. Thanks for listening here on Distracted.